Iowa Live.
From the Carl Chevrolet Studios in West Des Moines, welcome to Iowa Live. I am Lou, and ladies and gentlemen, look who's here. It is Kim Baer from the Baer Law Office as we talk about something else you really need to keep in mind when it comes to the law. Great to see you, Kim.
Yeah, good to see you too, Lou.
All right, now we're going to talk about something that is pretty serious here, but something you really need to know about.
Well, I thought it would be important for people to know about statute of limitations in Iowa, and it differs state to state. So it's really important that you know if you have a claim, whether it's breach of contract or you've been hurt or medical malpractice or whatever the claim is, you need to know how long do you have to file a lawsuit.
And that is the definition of the statute of limitations.
Yes, the statute of limitations just sets the deadline. And if you go past that deadline, then you've lost your claim.
Okay, let's get into it a little bit.
Yeah, so let's first talk about personal injury. So for personal injury, now that's going to include a dog bite, a car accident, nursing home claim, medical malpractice. I mean, anything, a fire, anything where you were hurt or someone was hurt.
Okay.
That's 2 years from the time that it occurred. So, and a lot of times in medical malpractice or negligence or nursing home negligence or things like that, it gets a little hard to figure out, okay, when was the diagnosis or when was I actually hurt?
Okay.
And so we try to be very conservative and just say, okay, it's going to be 2 years from the time you were told or the time that you got the misdiagnosis. You know, a car accident's easier, 2 years from the date of the accident.
Because you know it.
Because you know it, yes, yes. So now there are some exceptions to that rule. It's called the discovery rule, and then we also have a statute of repose. So this discovery rule, I'll give you an example. Let's say that you go in and you meet with your doctor and you think, you know, you're having pain somewhere, and they do the test, and the tests show that maybe you have a tumor, but you're not told that, and you're told, no, you're fine. And then a few years later, you find out that you actually did have cancer and that you had cancer back then.
Okay.
There is a discovery rule in Iowa that says that, you know, the statute will run from when you knew or should have known. So, and obviously if you're relying on what your doctor's telling you, there's no reason why you should have known back before.
So you would not have known then?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. You know, now the discovery rule is up for interpretation, so it always kind of makes lawyers nervous, but there is that situation.
Okay.
So, and then statute of repose. So I'll use medical malpractice again. Let's say you have a surgery and they leave a sponge in you.
Right.
Yes, and you don't find out until, 4 years later when you have a PET scan and, the doctors are scratching their head going, well, what is this? So, and you've only had one surgery, so it must be the sponge.
Got it.
So the statute of repose typically will give you, sometimes it's 6 years, sometimes it's 15 years. So it's one of those things that as soon as you find out there was something wrong, you need to go talk to a lawyer and figure out, has the time passed? Do I have extra time? So
now explain why these rules are in place. Why do they have time limits on things like this?
that's a great question, Lou. If you think about it, let's say you and I are in a car accident.
Okay.
And I just don't get around to suing you, and I finally sue you 5 years later. You're not going to remember what happened 5 years later. The witnesses aren't going to remember what happened 5 years later. So that's the reason why it's a short time frame to file a lawsuit, because we want to preserve evidence. We want people to be able to remember what happened.
Right. Now, there are, like you mentioned, there are some exceptions to this too, and minor children come in mind.
Yes, minor children. So normally minor children are going to have up to 2 years after they turn 18.
Okay.
The problem with that is if the parents also have claims, for loss of consortium or medical bills, those claims are all going to run within 2 years. So again, you need to go talk to, in these types of situations, you need to go talk to a lawyer.
Okay. Now, we're talking about medical stuff here, but what about contracts and things like that?
Yeah. Great question. So written contracts are 10 years from the time that it was breached. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And oral contracts are 5 years. Fraud, I believe, is 5 years. And so it might be 2 years. I just can't remember. One of those things I have to check when people come in. Yeah.
Call the Baer Law Office and she'll double check for you, right?
Right. I'll look it up.
Okay.
I'll look it up. So if you have an issue and somebody has breached a contract or they've breached a lease, then you need to know, how long do you have to try to work it out with the person before you have to file a lawsuit? There's nothing more heartbreaking to me than somebody calling our office and they have a good claim and they waited too long.
Right, and how often does that happen?
Oh, probably, maybe once every couple months. Not a lot, because people, I think people are good about paying attention, but that's the reason why I'm here today talking about it, because I want to make sure we educate our viewers on what the statute of limitations is.
Okay, so if people have been involved involved in something that we've talked about here this morning, and it's been a year or two, or maybe even a couple of more years than that, the best thing to do really is to get a hold of you and find out, what your situation is, and then you can give them the information about the statute.
Absolutely. If you already have a lawyer, call that lawyer.
Right.
If you don't have a lawyer, we're more than happy to help. So just give us a call.
Okay,
So.
more than happy to help. And
Yeah.
how can people get your assistance?
Sure, just give us a call at 515-279-2000. We're downtown Des Moines, and we offer a free consultation.
Thank you so much. Great to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
All right, we'll be right back.